Hi BookTube, I hope you're all well. I'm Tash from That Tash Reads. It is freezing today. I apologise if you can hear the wind. The window right here has the wind whistling by, so I apologise for all the background noise today. But it's finally looking like autumn. It looks like it's going to be a really cold winter, but winter is coming here in Australia and I am freezing. So to warm myself up, I'm going to get started. Today I'm talking about the Clunes Festival that I attended last week out in the regional town of Clunes. Clunes is 36 kilometres north of Ballarat. Ballarat is a regional town which is 116k drive from Melbourne. So I went out in the middle of nowhere on Saturday and it was amazing. Clunes is a pretty town, clearly got a personality. All the houses look different, all the houses are beautifully kept and some of them are artworks. The town is gorgeous, it's green, really wide streets. Everybody was welcoming of everybody, you know, of all the visitors coming into the town. The town's just really pretty. I don't know how to put this. I didn't take much footage while I was there. I wanted to, but then I just got too busy experiencing everything, so I apologise about that. Now, the Clunes Festival has been running as a BookTown Festival as we know it now since 2012, but it has been running as far back as 2007 when it was known as the BookTown for a Day Festival. The BookTown Festival has become the largest collection of books in any regional centre of Australia and is the major regional Victorian event. The Clunes BookTown Festival is part of the International Organisation of Booktowns, and I'm going to link below to their website. This is a quote directly from the website. A booktown is a small rural town or village in which second-hand and antiquarian bookshops are concentrated. Most booktowns have developed in villages of historic interest or of scenic beauty. Towns from all over the globe participate, mostly in Europe, but there are also towns in Asia, and there is a town in New Zealand who is applying to participate as well. I really recommend, if you have access, to go check one out. I'd only recently heard about the Clunes BookTown Festival myself. I would like to go check out some of these towns across the world. If they're anything like Clunes, it's just going to be beautiful. It's going to be welcoming. All of the vendors were lovely that I spoke to and brought books from. Even the vendors that I didn't buy anything from. Everyone seemed really knowledgeable and just happy to be there. It wasn't overly crowded, at least when I was there on the Saturday. There were these book talks, there was music, there was lots of activities for kids, so it was a really family friendly event. I really recommend going to check one out if you can. Really should point out that the Clunes Book Festival was made up of vendors of both new books and second-hand books. Probably about half of the vendors there were second-hand books. I thought that was amazing. There was such a variety. Unfortunately, there was such a variety of books. A lot of classics. I saw a lot of Agatha Christie. I saw a lot of Australian fiction. There wasn't so much of the horror, fantasy and science fiction that I'm really into at the moment, but there was a lot of contemporary. I didn't really pick up any contemporary this year. It's just not where I am really in my reading life at the moment, which is okay. I'm just really enjoying reading the weird and the fantasy and the science fiction at the moment. It would have been remiss of me to go all the way out, spend 2.5 hours on the train travelling to have not bought books. I brought some books, of course. I brought a mix of secondhand and new books. So I'm going to go through the secondhand books first. There are some things I want to talk to you about with the new books because I got to meet some of the authors, and so that's going to just take a little bit longer. I don't know how interesting secondhand books are to people, but man, do they smell amazing. The first book that I picked up was Eerie Tales of Horror and Dread by Bernhardt J. Harwood. This was picked up purely by topic of weird stories and the cover. I'm really curious as to why a prison wall is bleeding and has a face in it. Second book that I picked up was Alfred Hitchcock's Sinister Spies. I always enjoy a good anthology by Alfred Hitchcock. He was known as a curator of short stories. A lot of his films are based on short stories as well, so you know that they're going to be good. I always love a good Hitchcock introduction as well. This is a really short one. I'm not going to read it all to you. Shh, don't look now, but you're being spied on. You don't know it, but you are. Who's doing it? It's not a who, it's a what. See that big dark eye in the corner staring at you? See how it seems to watch your movements without ever blinking, no matter where you are in the room? That's what's spying on you. Now, he's talking about the television there. We always passively watch the television, but my favourite part is the PS. PS, I didn't really mean it about your TV set watching you. It isn't, at least not yet. TVs now watch people. TVs are watching you. TVs are spying on you. I don't know. I think it's sweet. I think it's ironic. I just love it. I've enjoyed a few Hitchcock anthologies before, so I'm really looking forward to checking this one out. This book I'm actually really excited about. If you watched a couple of my videos already, you know I love short stories. You know I love Australian short stories, and you'll probably be aware that I subscribe to Aurealis, which is the currently only Australian science fiction, fantasy and speculative fiction magazine currently in print, and it's only digital. So I was really excited when I found Dirk Strauss's Zenith in a box. I haven't read much of Dirk's work outside of Aurealis. In the blurb, he's been liked to David Eddings and Stephen Donaldson. I'm expecting great things from this anyway, so I'm really looking forward to checking this out. The next book that I picked up was on a whim. I've never heard of this author before that I picked it up, and there was a box of his books, probably 15-20 books. The lady next to me ended up buying most of them. I managed to pick up one of them. I couldn't afford all of them. I didn't have enough bags. I had to catch the train home, and I still wanted to buy some other stuff, and this is something I found right at the beginning of the day. I'm really curious about this author. When I have found out a little bit more, I am a little bit disappointed as well in terms of cultural appropriation. I don't know, this is a very Australiana book, and it is a book that's probably going to be very much of its time. It was published in 1966 originally. Now this book is part of a series. You know what, I'm just going to show you the book and you can make your own judgments. This is Arthur Upfield, the Lake Foam Monster. Now this is part of a series featuring an Aboriginal Australian police detective by the name of Inspector Napoleon Bonaparte. Look, I've never heard of Arthur Upfield before. It looks really pulpy, but it also looks kind of fun. Looks slightly racist as well, specifically as Arthur is a British Australian rather than an Aboriginal or a Native Australian. I have some reservations about this. I've never heard about this before. He seems really quite prolific, so I am curious just to read this and form my own opinions and do a little bit more research. But it should be interesting to say the least. At the very least, it's going to be an example of what Australia was like towards our native peoples in the 60s and the things that all come along with that and the way we viewed them. It's going to be interesting. When I get around to reading it, I'll probably talk about it here. So the next two books that I'm going to show you are actually the last purchases I made on the day. There was a couple of secondhand vendors in the church there, and I had a lovely chat with the vendor who sold me these books about some short stories anthologies and really the rise of them at the moment. The more I find short stories interesting, the more others seem to be finding them interesting as well at the moment. I don't know if I'm jumping in late or it's just there's a rise of short stories at the moment. The vendor actually told me that the publisher of these books, they're actually quite collectibles at the moment. People are really quite interested in locating them and finding them and collecting them. So I thought that was really lovely that we had a chat about that. So the next two books I picked up was the Pan Book of Horror Stories and the second book of Pan Horror Stories. I love these covers. There's a variety of different authors and story types in here. Mostly I picked it up because of the cat. For some reason I want to hug this cat and pet it, but I know I'm probably gonna be mauled. But then I had to pick up the second one. So that wraps up my second-hand books that I'd picked up at Clunes. As I said, there were some new vendors there and there were some authors as well. So I'm about to get into the author books for you. I also picked up The Inheritance, which is an anthology of short stories written by Robin Hobb. Now it does also claim Megan on here, but Megan is a Robin. So, you know, I hadn't picked this up before. I've been wanting to read her Farseer books, So this is just a nice little collection to add to that. As I said, there were some Australian authors there selling their books, and I had a ball talking to them, learning about their books and learning about some of their journeys. So I'm just going to show you some of those books now. I would like to talk about these authors and read their books and review them here later. My list is getting really long of things I want to do, so bear with me if you're interested in any of these books, but I really do recommend checking them out, checking out their websites and ordering their books if you seem interested. They were all lovely people, all wanting to speak to you and just really get to know their readers and the people that were there, and they just loved being at Clunes. Some of them, this was their first year, some of them have been coming for a few years. But I'm going to start with the one author that I didn't meet, but I still picked up her book. So this is Bronze Magic by Jenny Ealey. So this is part of the Sorcerer's Oath series. This is book 1. This is a fantasy series. There's a cute little map at the beginning of the book. So this is a fantasy book full of wood magic, wizards, princes and kings at odds with each other. It's a nice heavy book, so I suspect it's going to be a nice fun read. To me, it really evokes a little bit of the Lord of the Rings, a little bit of David Eddings. It comes across as a really epic magic story. So I'm going to read you a little bit from the blurb of Bronze Magic. In Escazor, land of sorcerers, Prince Tarkin, tempestuous and strong in magic, is forced to flee from his brother and the king, leaving a trail of death and destruction behind him. After days on the run, he wanders into the woodlands in company of an old wizard, only to find himself unable to leave. Even worse, Tarkin is horrified to discover that he is the unwelcome, bitterly resented liege lord of an elusive people whose oath to him has been spellbound to the welfare of their forest. Bounty hunters are tracking him, wolves and sorcerers are hunting the woodfolk. Battling the woodfolk's resentment, Tarkin holds true to his duty as their liege lord to fight with them against wizard-driven storm, captivity and exposure to their existence to the world beyond the forest. How can Tarkin repair the schism in the woodfolk society that his presence has caused so they can stand united against the greatest threat in their history? Epic fantasy. So in the same store, I got to meet Tracy, who told me a little bit about her book, Altaica. Now this is the first in a series. The moment she said strong female character, I was hooked. One thing that I really do love about this is she included a postcard in her books which shows all the different characters and a little bit of a legend about who's in the book. I love this as a handy reference. I can be really terrible at remembering characters, so I just love this idea of including a little postcard telling us who and what everything is so I can keep track. I really wish Game of Thrones came with something like this. Can you imagine how much easier it would be to keep track of everybody in Game of Thrones? Assyria, little is known about her race, but much is whispered. Born to refugees, she grows up enduring racism and superstition within a community that fears her. She has few friends and those she treasures. Trapped, she longs for escape to a different life. Escape is only the beginning of her troubles. Having fled an invading army with her friends, Assyria is faced with heinous choices in order to survive. Secrets from her past emerge to torment her and threaten to destroy all she holds dear. Her struggles forge a bond with an ancient power, a power which may transform or consume her. Old hatreds and superstitions are renewed, and at her most vulnerable, she learns the true nature of those around her. Her only hopes lie in a foreign land, a land rich in tradition, ruled by 3 powerful clans, a land with a history marked by warfare where magic as we know it does not exist. Instead, what is here in abundance is a more primal power. Survival carries a high price. Welcome to Altaica. This seems really timely to me. There's a lot of discussion here in Australia about migrants and their role that they play here. We've got the whole situation going on in Nauru, which is fairly horrendous and heinous. So this seems really timely in terms of what's going on here in Australia. So this will be really interesting to read and really reflect on all that. Also in the same store, because they were all together, I got to meet Belinda and hear Belinda tell me about her book Hero. This is also another series, book 1 in the Hero Rebellion series. This is a science fiction book. There's genetic engineering, long spaceship travel, starting, life on new planets. Real frontier kind of book. Colony ships, DNA, genetic splicing. I'm hearing a lot about colony ship science fiction at the moment, so this should be really up there with all of that. Centuries ago, humans colonized Dawn, a lonely planet on the far side of the galaxy. Arriving in 5 great colony ships, they quickly settled on the surface, only to discover after a few short years that the planet was killing them. The culprit, a native spore carried on every wind to every corner of the globe. Genetic engineering, blending DNA from Earth and Yawn species, saved their crops and livestock, but for humans there was no cure. Instead, they took to the skies, turning their colony ships into cities that floated above the spore's reach. Hero Reagan is special, and not in a way that she likes. She hears voices in her head that other people can't. Surrounded by butlers, bodyguards, and tutors, insulated from the outside world, her only solace is Fink, a 600-kilogram genetically engineered rock powder. They share lives, thoughts, triple chocolate marshmallow ice cream, and the burning desire for freedom. Their chance comes when Hero is allowed to attend school in Colmonus City. Here, along with making unexpected friends, Hero discovers that she is an unwitting part of a master plan set into motion by the first colonists, a plan she must either help or foil if she is ever to attain the freedom she craves. The next book I picked up was Grave Misgivings, Awakenings by C.E. Sundstrom. This is not quite horror, more like a supernatural fantasy. It links current Australia with the Salem witchcraft in America. Dual timelines, I've been told, that sort of link up throughout the series and get all explained and all merged together as one. I'm going to read you the blurb. Julie Mahoney leads what could be described as a perfect life until the day she kills a pedestrian in a tragic hit-and-run accident. Little does she know that this incident will be the catalyst which leads her to discover a whole new reality. Her life becomes dominated by ghosts and bizarre visions. However, she soon discovers there is a darker truth within these waking dreams that has been hidden to her blinkered eyes. Unwittingly, she is led into a world of danger and dubious characters whose intentions are highly questionable. And there's a black cat on the back of it, invoking the witchcraft, but also he's just so beautiful. I love cats. And there he is again on the front. Look at those eyes. Ah, the skyline along here is Melbourne, I think, as well. I also picked up Savannah the Pilgrim by Sue. She did tell me how to pronounce her name. I'm not gonna try because it's just, I'm not going to get it right, most likely. As far as I understand, this is a completed series. It is an intergenerational series set in here in Australia. So I'm going to read you the blurb. When Sannah the storyteller, a descendant of environmental refugees from drowned Pacific islands, finds a white stranger on her domestep, she presumes he's a political prisoner on the run seeking safe passage to egalitarian, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pronounce this correctly, Aotoria. However, Kari's unusual appearance, bizarre behaviour, and insistent he's a pilgrim suggest otherwise. Appalled by the apartheid Australia, Kari uses his white privileges to procure vital information for Sannah and her group of activists regarding new desert prisons that are to be built to house all political prisoners. The group plans sabotage but needs help, and Kari is willing to accomplice. But when Sannah turns truth-teller and threatens to reveal the country's true history, even Kari's white privilege and advanced technology cannot save Sannah and her daughter from retribution. It's environmental science fiction. It's a future where the Pacific Islands have been drowned. Australia is a complete desert. Climate change has come into full force. It's a very dystopian telling of what could potentially happen. I love that it's set in Australia. Personally, I don't think there are enough books set in Australia, so I'm really looking forward to this. Each book in the series, because there's 3, have are told from a different perspective. Sue was really lovely. She told me an awful lot about the books. Okay, so we got interrupted because of I ran out of space on the phone. So the next book that I picked up was Songlines by Carolyn Denman. This seems to have been quite highly rated by Aurealis. It's the Sentinels of Eden series, book 1. We belong to the Earth, Ladybug. We were sent here in human form for a reason. If you don't know what to do, then just be human. Right, like that was ever a simple thing to do. In the heart of Winmira, region of Victoria, an ancient gateway to Eden is kept hidden and safe by a creature so powerful that even the moon would obey her commands. At least it would if she had any idea that she wasn't just a normal girl about to finish high school. When a mining company begins exploratory sampling near Laney's sheep farm, a family secret is revealed that makes her regret not having learnt more about her Indigenous history. What she's told by their farmhand Harry, an Aboriginal elder, can't possibly be true. But then, the most irritating guy in class, Bane, begins to act even more insanely towards her than ever, until she can no longer deny that something very unusual is going on. When Harry doesn't return from his quest to seek help to protect the area from the miners, Laney sets out to discover the truth of her heritage and the secret she's been born to protect. Now, the last book, I was really impressed by this author, Elizabeth Jane Corbett. This is The Tide Between. Now, she learnt Welsh to write this book, which is an amazing feat in itself just to write a book, but to learn Welsh. She did tell me that she had some Welsh heritage, which is why she'd done that, and she is planning on using the Welsh that she's learnt in her next book as well, so it's not just for the one book. She fancied herself part of a timeless chain without beginning or end, linked only by the silver strong winds of its tellers. In 1841, on the eve of her departure from London, Bertie's mother demands she forget her dead father and prepare for a sensible adult life in Port Phillip. Desperate to save her childhood, 15-year-old Bertie is determined to smuggle a notebook filled with her father's fairy tales to the far side of the world. When Rhys Bevan, a soft-voiced young storyteller and fellow traveller, realises Bertie is hiding something, a magical friendship is born. But Rhys has his own secrets, and the words written in Bertie's notebook carry a darker double meaning. As they inch towards their destination, Rhys's past returns to haunt him. Bertie grapples with the implication of her dad's final message. The pair take refuge in fairy tales, little expecting the trouble it would cause. Thank you for watching my Book Clunes Festival wrap-up. If you liked what you saw, please subscribe. If you want to contact me, my Twitter and Goodreads contact details are below. Have a great week.